Welcome to the OutWork'em Podcast, Trent. Today
Thank
we
you.
have Trent Haws of Arizona Mold Dog and Haws Homes AZ. And he's going to be talking about his journey with Honey the Mold Dog. And I don't know, maybe we'll be blessed with
Mhm.
a cameo of Honey the Mold Dog. I don't know if she's around.
She can make an appearance. Yeah, she'd probably love that.
Yes. So you're gonna have to watch it, the visual on YouTube, and make sure that you get a look at Honey the Mole Dog because she's pretty freaking cute. How
She's
old
all
is
right.
how old is Honey?
She's 2.5 or so, probably almost
Okay,
3. Yeah.
nice, nice.
So
She did a baby.
yeah, and she's a small dog too. Obviously she's a beagle,
Mm-hmm.
but she's like the smaller of the beagle breeds. There's 13-inch beagles and 15-inch beagles,
Oh
and
wow.
she's a 13-inch, and I think she's even small for the small beagles. So yeah, she's just a little dog.
Yeah,
It's perfect for fitting into tight spaces and homes. So
yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome.
She's a really good dog though. So
I would love to hear about how did you get into this industry, Trent?
uh honestly, my story about getting into the industry is kind of boring. Like a lot of people are like, I had so much mold and I learned so much about it and I got into the mold. But my story is like a long, complex story, which has been good because I've learned a lot to get here. I started out just, working with contractors. I worked with a contractor, he did remodels. Um, and I learned a ton from him. And then I started working for a restoration company after a few months with him. Um, and then the restoration company taught me everything I needed to know about the rebuild side of the industry. So I did all the cabinets, baseboards, drywall, all of that, the flooring, painting. I did that for a lot of years, and then from there I kind of moved to remodels. I worked with property management companies and individuals, homeowners, um, and restoration companies doing all their rebuilds and stuff. Um, and it's super weird how I got into this exactly, but I was also doing bee removals because I'm a beekeeper,
Oh,
and
cool.
part of our the work that I did was removals out of people's homes, and so um, all this whole mold thing started with a bee removal that I did at someone's home. She had a really nice home. She's like a 93-year-old lady, super nice lady. She didn't know that she had a ton of water damage in her walls. So I went there for a bee removal, saw a big old hole in her roof where the bees were getting in. Um, and it had just rained the day before that I got there. And so I was like, oh my gosh, there's probably like water damage everywhere in here. So I went inside, found a bunch of water damage that was pretty well hidden, and we ended up doing a huge mold remediation. That was the first one that I did. I had some friends help me through the process so I can learn how to do it and do it right. And then shortly after that, at same kind of situation, I was doing a big remodel. They had tons of mold. I mean, probably 40 foot long wall, floor to ceiling, completely covered in mold in their kitchen, and like family living room area. It was the biggest amount of the most amount of mold that I've ever seen to this day, and that was like one of the first jobs that I ever did. It was crazy. That it would have killed the couple who were moving in. They were older.
Yeah.
It would have made them so sick.
Oh,
So luckily we found that and just kept learning about remediation. Um, and then I decided to go get my certification through the IICRC, and they're kind of the governing body of restoration standards. So I did that and then started doing more remediation. And then from there, we learned about people who get really sick from mold, which I didn't really know was a thing. Um, and so we started kind of focusing our efforts on people who were sick because it's really a group of people who are, there's not a whole lot of help for them, at least
right.
in Arizona. In Arizona, there's, I don't know, thousands of restoration companies, but really none of them tailor to those people, or very few, if any.
Yeah.
So we kind of started focusing on helping those people. From there, we learned about mold dogs and kind of how the conventional ways of testing and inspecting for mold are extremely ineffective. So I started doing inspections in a way that made sense, not according to the standards that everyone does, but it made sense from a logical perspective. Like, um, you know, so, and then honey's been super helpful. Um, but now when we do inspections, we use, I mean, every tool we can to try to find mold um,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just relying on lab sampling. Most companies will go in and do an air test. I mean, they'll do several air tests throughout your home, but it's like mold doesn't really hang out in the air for very long. A lot of times it'll travel through the air, but then it'll settle, and then you compare that to, or you add the fact that the air samples that are taken, I mean, it's like 5 minutes, um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very, very small sample size. So it really, they're not very effective for picking up mold in your home. Um, and most companies rely on that, but it's just like super ineffective. I've been in homes that have had 5 or 6 air testing companies, and they all say, "Oh yeah, your home's clean. There's no mold anywhere." But the homeowner is really sick, and we'll go
Mm-hmm.
in and find mold. I mean, all over the place, tons of
Yeah.
mold. And just air sampling just doesn't pick it up. So yeah, kind of not super interesting in how we got into it. But my wife also she has SIRS, which is
Mm-hmm.
usually caused by mold or Lyme or other biotoxins.
Yeah.
And so from that we learned a lot about how mold affects your health, what it does, the issues that it can cause. I mean, and it's what mold can do to your health is such a wide ranging number of symptoms. It's like totally wild. It affects
It
everyone
really
so
is.
differently. As you know, I mean, you kind of went through a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that yourself, but yeah,
Yeah, I've talked about it before on this podcast, but it was a while back. Um, but we had a moldy house situation that was wreaking havoc on my health, and it affected my heart, it affected my lungs, it affected my eyes, my hormones. I mean, just everything you can think of. It really just totally, it was so scary and so confusing. And we did have, multiple air quality tests, and they didn't come back. The first one didn't come back like totally alarming, but if you are someone that has genetic predisposition towards biotoxin illness, then you're way more susceptible to even small amounts causing a lot of issues. So I wasn't diagnosed with SIRS, but I was diagnosed with mast cell activation, which was from living in a moldy house. So basically, your mast cells are just like degranulating all of the time because your body is just being like it's perceiving being under attack.
yeah, you get so sensitive to everything. It's crazy.
Everything. I
Yeah,
mean, I could barely eat anything without my body going into an inflammatory response, and spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on naturopaths, which now, after knowing everything I know about mold illness, my biomarkers on my labs were textbook mold illness, like textbook, like all of the markers that you can think of. So, if you are on a health journey and you don't know what's going on with you, definitely don't sleep on testing your house for mold. And if you're someone who is very sensitive and has a lot of allergies or food intolerances, and you just want to make sure your house is good because you spend most of your time in your house. I mean, you sleep for hopefully 8 hours a night, and that's where your body's doing all of its immune healing and everything. So if you're sleeping in a place that is also making you sick, it's going to be very hard for you to get well. So
yeah,
the lowest hanging fruit for improving your quality of life is to make sure that your home is has clean air and clean spaces. And yeah, I wish I would have known about you guys years ago when we were going through all of that. Because I'd much rather have had just Honey the mold dog come in, get
right.
to. Do you let your customers pet Honey?
Oh yeah, she's a great therapy dog. After
Okay.
after we find tons of mold in people's homes and these people are all sick and it's like, a lot of emotions and overwhelming if we find a
Oh
bunch.
yeah.
Yeah, she's great at just sitting with people and just letting them pet her and yeah, she's awesome. just sit in their lap and just like want to be there all day. So
Yeah.
she's a good little therapy dog.
I have to tell the story about like the weird synchronicities of how, I mean, it's not how I found you guys, but I was researching mold dogs or remediation. Obviously, we have a home service business podcast, so I'm always, scoping out different businesses that I would like to have on the podcast. I like to have on businesses, obviously, that I think are doing good work. And you guys showed up, and I was like, oh, I think these guys are doing some really good work. And then I remembered a story that someone had told me years ago. I met this woman at the gym actually, and we ended up striking up a conversation. And she was telling me about a lot of health issues that she was experiencing. And we had just moved out of our moldy house, so it was really fresh, my own mold trauma. And I was trying not to project onto this woman, but everything that she was telling me was like, oh, that could be mold or that could be mold. And she had done all of the testing and, gone through the whole medical cycle that you go through when you get sick from mold, because for some reason it's like the last place people look. It's like the last resort. And so I had told her, oh, get your house checked for mold. So she did get it checked, and then they went through a remediation process, but she was still sick. And I don't know how she found you guys, but she ended up finding you guys. And she told me, and she was like, oh my gosh, you were right. And she sent me pictures of the pictures that you guys took of inside of her walls. And first of all, she said she had an absolutely incredible experience with y'all. She quote unquote, she said, you guys are doing God's work. She was like, I can't believe that. I didn't even know that you could have a mold dog come into your house and do these type of things. And she said you guys did tiny, tiny, tiny little holes in the wall to take pictures, and
Yeah.
that you were just so helpful. And she sent me the pictures. Like I probably still have it in my text messages, which I was like, my mind was blown. I showed my husband. I
Yeah.
was like, look at this. Like that was a wild conversation that I randomly had at the gym.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
that was
uh
crazy.
and then when I called you guys, I was like, I wonder if these are the same people. This is like, fast forward into the future, a couple years later, and lo and behold, you guys
Sure enough.
were the same people.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was crazy. She had a lot of mold and she was super super sick from it. But yeah, it was pretty much every room in her condo was moldy. And so she could never get away from it. And she worked from home most of the
Hmm.
time and it was just like constant intake of mold. So yeah, that was pretty crazy. Crazy connection.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, gosh, I didn't even like, yeah, taking in consideration working from home. I was
yeah.
working from home too when we had the moldy house. And so now you're working from home, you're eating, you're sleeping, you're
Yeah.
doing everything. And now you're just being like constantly under immune issue attack the whole time, and you just don't get a break. So it's really important. And you guys are based out of AZ, and a lot of people, when you tell them that Arizona has mold issues, they
Yeah.
can't reconcile it. They're like, "Wait, what? It's so dry there."
Right.
Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, um, and that's crazy too because we've done inspections for people who have moved here from Florida. I mean, we did inspection for a couple who they moved from Florida, built a brand new $6 million home, and in Paradise Valley, and like within a couple months of, I mean, the home wasn't even finished when we were there. They were still working on the on the little touch ups and stuff. There's mold in several areas and they were super sick. She was really sensitive, really sick from their home in Florida, and she just started getting crazy sick again. But yeah, people think that because I'm guessing they think mold comes from the environment mostly. I mean, mold is outside, and that's how it gets inside your home. But it's not humid here, so it's like, yeah, you're not going to get mold growing from the humidity issues. But if you go inside a wall and you have a leaky pipe like you have a little microclimate in there that's just as humid as anywhere in the world. I mean, it's just
Mm-hmm.
full of water, full of dirt, full of food for the mold, full of, you know, just a perfect little breeding ground for mold. So, and then, a lot of times you get little drips in a wall, and that causes humidity all through the whole wall system. And so, yeah, you can get mold growing anywhere here. A lot of times we get roof issues, we get door and window issues, and it doesn't rain often. But when it does rain, you get mold coming in through your roof or your doors or windows. It's
Yeah.
going to stay wet for just long enough. You get water sandwiched in between building materials, and it just has a hard time drying out. So yeah, you get mold growing anywhere, even though it's not necessarily coming from the humidity outside, or because it's not humid here. We
Mm-hmm.
still get, I mean, bad issues. I'm sure other parts of the United States or world where there's lots of humidity probably have more mold, maybe. And I mean, I don't know a ton about those areas because I've never lived in any of them. Um, but we still have a ton of mold here. I mean, we go to homes that have mold all over the place. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it depends on too the way that the home is built and if it's built appropriately for
that's
that
a huge issue.
climate. And everyone loves to seal up and make everything energy efficient in Arizona. So it's like you're sealing everything up, but then if you have a leak, then you're sealing all of it up, and there's
Yeah.
no way for the house to breathe. And we've lived in tropical environments before and had less mold in tropical environments than we have in places that we lived in Arizona, because if the house is built appropriately for the climate, like if you are in a tropical climate, then it needs to have open air. It needs to have the
Yeah.
ability to be an open air space at times,
Right.
preferably a lot of the time as long as it's not raining,
Yeah.
you know? And then that airflow is how you can mitigate against it. And then that, I mean, that's not going to fix it obviously if there's like a leaky pipe or something in the
Right.
floor or a leaky roof, but the materials also play a part. And I don't know if this is accurate or not. Maybe you can speak to this, but like I've heard a lot of older houses, because of the materials that were used, back in the day, were higher quality or like denser woods. They actually tend to be less moldy than some of the new builds.
Oh yeah. Yeah. A lot of the newer homes, I mean, they just put them up. It's just cardboard and glue that they stick them together with, pretty much. So, I've been in a lot of homes that are brand new. Even this one that I did the inspection for, it was a $6 million home. It was very nice, very custom, like amazing home.
Yeah.
But the quality of the newer construction is so bad, that we see a lot of issues in those. And then yeah, the older homes, um, you get a lot more brick or block with you get a lot of plaster inside the homes, and it's so much more water resistant and mold resistant than a lot of the new stuff. Um, we see issues in older homes and newer homes. It's more of an upkeep, maintenance kind of thing, because a lot older homes, they start breaking down, and if people aren't keeping a close eye on the roof or on pipes or whatever it is, you still got a lot of
Hmm.
issues there. But yeah, it's crazy. The newer homes, it's like this home's like a year, 2 year, 3, 5 years old. That's still new.
Yeah.
Things aren't supposed to break down in a couple or a few years, but the quality is just so bad that we see issues all over the place. It's terrible. I mean, a
Do
lot
you
of
give
times we
any
see
pointers?
issues.
Oh,
What's that?
sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, a lot of times we see issues of mold before the home is even sold. People will get us in there, kind of sneak us in to do a inspection, and it's like, and the builder didn't have the roof put up and it rained, and then they put the drywall up right after, or or they have a leak and they don't dry it out. And so
Mm-hmm.
we've been in homes that have mold that, like, they're not even finished, and like the people haven't even moved in yet. Yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy. We see mold all over the place.
Do you ever go to look at homes with people? Like, do people ever commission you guys for the day to go look at like homes that they're thinking about buying?
Yeah, we do. We don't do as many of those. But yeah, we've done. I mean, more recently we've been doing more of those, where people will pick a few homes and then we'll come just start inspecting and say this one has some major issues, this one's not as bad, etc. Um, for people who are buying homes as well as people who are renting. We just did one a couple weeks ago, and this is a crazy story. But the lady was moving from Northern California. Um, she had so much mold that her body, like, she thought she had rheumatoid arthritis, but like
Yeah.
arthritis through her whole body pretty much. She could barely move. She was in a wheelchair. She's not super old or anything. Um, and then she found out it was mold, remediated it, started healing, and then she decided to move here to Arizona. I think for part of the reason because she, didn't think there's as much mold here.
Yeah.
But she was going to rent a pretty nice home in Cave Creek area. Um,
Mhm.
and she did her own inspection. She just did her, like, she walked through, and
Yep.
I think she had some testing done, and then she found us, and she's like, "Oh, I'll get Trent and Honey to come check it out too." And we found so much mold in the home, and she was so surprised. Um, it's just, the landlord had covered up stuff, and I don't even know if it was him or because he had just recently purchased the home. I'm
Yeah.
guessing what happens a lot is a homeowner will patch stuff, and
Yeah.
so you can't see it. You can't see that there was water damage under a sink, for example. They'll paint over it, they'll replace the wood, but they don't remove any of the mold. And that's what happened in this house. She had mold in her master bathroom, in a little casita in the back, in her laundry room, in two of the guest bathrooms, in her garage, close to her AC unit. It was a lot of mold, and I was like, "You
It's
should."
horrible.
She The day I was there was like the 30th. She had, or the first maybe. She had just gotten the keys to the house, and her husband was moving all of their stuff from California. It's like a 20-hour drive with a big box truck, and I was like, "You should not move any of your stuff in this house." And luckily,
No.
she didn't. Um, and she told the landlord this is a kind of an ongoing difficult situation for them because the landlord did, kind of bad remediation. And so I don't know if she's going to move in or not, but luckily I mean, because if we hadn't found that she moved in, she probably would have been pretty sick all over again. But yeah, we
That's
see that a lot.
crazy.
Yeah,
I would live in a tent
I know.
before I ever live
Yeah,
in a moldy house ever again. I'm so traumatized from it.
yeah,
We will walk into, because, like I said, we travel a good bit. We'll walk in, if we walk into a hotel or an Airbnb or anything like that and it's moldy, I'm like, I walk in, I walk right out. I
yeah,
say, nope. Actually, now I've gotten quite good at, I think good at, like novice mold inspection, and
yeah.
so I'll go and take like a video of the Airbnb, and I'll be like, that's water damage there, and da 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 da, and I
Yeah, you
see the
kinda
mold
have to
around
when
the
you go through it.
vent.
Yeah. It can be kinda scary to get as sick as a lot of people get. It's like
Yeah,
it totally destroys your health, and it's scary. Your body is, on high alert after that with mold. So, yeah,
yeah,
it's good to be able to, see it yourself before you start getting sick. But, yeah, I've talked to people who have lived in tents because their whole home is, in bad situation, bad condition with mold. They get really
yeah.
sick. It's
We looked
definitely
into an
worth.
ATC toy hauler too.
Yeah. You guys lived in one?
We looked into it.
Oh,
We were considering it. We were
yeah.
like, yeah, we were considering our options while we were, and this was right after we moved out because we were like, do we want to get into another place? Do we want to try to buy a place? Do we want to do this? Do we want to do that? And I was so like, I don't want to get into a situation with another moldy house. So I was just like looking at every option that we could do that was like for sure not moldy,
Yeah.
and the for sure not moldy was the ATC toy hauler, and those are quite an investment too. We would have need to
Yeah.
bought a truck with it and like all the whole thing. So we ended up not doing it. We had some travel lined up for that part of the year, so we decided, and we actually did live in a tent for a little while on Maui at our friend's house
Yeah.
because he
That's
had like a glamping situation. But I was
oh,
like,
that's
I
good.
think this is really good. This is good timing. Like, and we had that set up before we had even found the mold and everything. Like, we were just gonna go glamp for a while anyway. So I was like, this is like so divinely led that this is this chunk of time is set up right after we had this happen. And I was praying a lot about it because I just couldn't figure out what was going on with my health. And I just was like, God, if you tell me what's going on with my health, I will do literally whatever I am supposed to do to heal. And it was like, boom, within a week, we found the mold
Wow, that's awesome.
and we moved everything out into a storage unit and never looked back. And we
Good.
actually ended up talking to the man who moved into our old place after the remediation and everything. So I felt really good about that because we didn't seek him out, but we had some mail go to the house that we needed to pick up. And we had like I dropped the story to him, just kind of like, you know, this is what happened to us. So if you have any health issues, just keep an eye out. And he was like, yeah, when I first got in, the air conditioner went out, and there were some issues with that. And but it was like the oldest. He said the oldest air conditioning he's ever seen from the people who replaced it. So he's like at least aware. But I was just having like nightmares of any families moving into that house.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have a great opinion of landlords at this stage in the game.
Yeah,
I
that's
I
tough.
just want there to be ethical landlords. Like I tell my husband because we want to be in real estate eventually, and I'm like, I just want to be an ethical landlord. Like I just want to have homes that people can rent that are healthy. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. I mean, there are some landlords that we've worked with who have been good at remediating and wanting to do it properly, but yeah, most of them it's like they just want to cover it up. Um, we actually work with a law firm, and a lot of the issues that we see are with tenants who get really sick, kind of situations like you were in, and the
Yeah.
landlords just don't, especially when they're big corporations, like big,
Mhm.
big landlord, big companies, they just want to patch it as much as possible. And so, because of that, you get a lot of tenants. The issue keeps going on, and people keep getting sick. And then eventually, you get somebody who's more susceptible to, mold illness, and their health is just destroyed. And then we go in there, we'll find tons of mold. Yeah, and then the landlords like will tell them like, hey, there's mold, there's water damage, and then they just have this handyman come in, patch it up, paint over it. And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're good. We painted over it. No more mold. Um, yeah, that's tough. It's all about the dollar for a lot of them, most of them.
Mhm.
So yeah.
How often do you see the people who are going through the legal process of recouping some of the pain and suffering and financial turmoil that mold illness inflicts? How do you see a lot of people be successful in that or be compensated?
The law firm that we work with here in Arizona just started a year or two ago, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the cases that they started taking on were pretty big. So they're it's a long process, like a couple years, but I think this year they'll have a couple that are either going to settle or go to court over. But
Mm-hmm.
they worked with lawyers from other states,
Yeah.
and they've been pretty successful.
Mm-hmm.
Especially here in Arizona, we have laws that protect tenants, and so a
Mm-hmm.
landlord has to give like a clean, safe house or
Yeah.
apartment or whatever for somebody to live in. And if they're patching over stuff, if they know that there's water damage and they cause people to get sick, there's good recourse here in Arizona. I think California not so much when it comes to mold, but here in Arizona, there's recourse for people. So we'll see in the next, hopefully this year or next year when a lot of the cases that they started taking on start finishing up. But I imagine it's going to be helpful to a lot of the people
Yeah.
who have been sick. So, but we'll see. So.
Yeah. And if you want, you can shout them out, or if you want, if anyone wants to know, they can contact Trent
Yeah,
Haws and get a referral over to that law firm if they're looking for someone.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Reach out.
because,
Since they are just starting out, I don't think they're taking on as many cases at the moment. But
okay.
I think when they start having cases go through, they'll probably be able to expand their resources.
Yeah.
But yeah, if somebody's interested, they can reach out to me and I can put them in contact and see if they have a case and see if they're willing to take them on, or
Yeah.
how else they can help. So
I have a funny story. because do you, well, first of all, do you guys travel to different states? Like if someone wants to work with you guys, do you fly to other parts of the country?
We don't not do that. Like
Okay.
we haven't said we'll never do that or anything, but we're so
Yeah.
busy here in Arizona that we just haven't had the time. We've had people contact us from other states, and we've all like Nevada, we've
Yep.
almost gone up there, but it was just like I don't know, it's hard because we're so busy here, and so
Yeah.
traveling a bunch, with the family and everything, it's just tough.
Yeah.
Um,
That makes
but
sense.
depending on the state, there's other inspectors that we recommend to people. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I was looking, my husband and I were looking at homes in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we went through the process of multiple mold tests on one house that we were actually like really considering buying from a family friend, and took a really long time. The first one they came in and they did like a surface test, and obviously everything turned out positive, and then the seller was like pissed because he was like, there's no way that there's mold in my house like this, da 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 da. And then the next person came in and they did an air quality test, and it was like um, still really low, but like not as high. So there was like conflict there, and it ended up just taking a really long time. And the seller got pissed off that it was taking so long, and pissed off at the quote for the remediation, and ended up not wanting to sell to us because it was like a pain in the ass. And there
yeah,
was some other things going on too that were like red flags for us, but I was thinking about how much nicer it would have been to just have the mold dog come in and have it be day of like, oh, there's a lot of mold here, or there's not a lot of mold here, you
yeah.
know?
We try to be the only inspector or the last inspector people have to call because I mean because of situations like that
Yeah,
where yeah, you call in 4 or 5 companies that come do their air testing or their I mean even ERMI is like the surface where
yep,
they take dust samples from around the home and they
yep,
analyze it. Um, but those usually don't give you a full clear picture. Not that those tools aren't useful.
yeah,
Um, we'll do those occasionally, just depending on the situation. Just like with anything, there's tools that work for certain situations and don't work for others in the mold testing world. Like Honey, the dog, um, she doesn't work in every situation. Sometimes she does. I mean, a lot of times the best tool that I have is my eyes and a flashlight. Um,
mm-hmm,
so when I go through a home, I'll try to find everything I can that looks suspicious, and then from there we'll look into stuff, and then Honey will come through after, and she's really good at finding mold that I we can't see. Like there's no
yeah,
signs of it if it's been patched or if there's just really no signs on the visible side of the wall. That's where she comes in. But if I can see damage, if I can see staining, um, especially if we can see mold, I usually won't have her test there just because we already know there's damage there. If there's
right.
not mold, we
No
don't want her,
need.
inhaling it as much as possible.
Yeah,
So, she doesn't, just like with anything, there's tools that work and tools that don't work depending on the situation. Um, so yeah, it's all kind of like what I was saying with the conventional methods. It's just here's 1 or 2 tools, and we'll just we'll just throw it at every single situation, and it usually doesn't work. In some cases, it does. I've seen air samples that have picked up mold in
mm-hmm,
the air, but it's usually when there's mold very nearby and there's a lot of it.
mm-hmm,
Um, but most of the time, it's just not the correct tool. Just like with anything, like Honey's not going to be good at finding mold in the attic, but that's where I come in. Um, I'll pick up the slack where where she can't, do a certain area or whatever. I'll try to do a test with other methods,
yep,
um, just so we're throwing everything that we can at it that makes sense. Um, and just so we give people the best chance of finding mold. So, like I said, we try to be the last or the only inspector. We're not perfect. Mold can be really, really difficult to find. Um, And so, but we try to do what we can. We're not perfect. We're not. I don't even know if we're the best at it, but we're pretty good at it, and we do everything that we can, and we're passionate about it. Um, we see a lot of really sad stories, and so it's my whole goal to do the best that I can, and keep Honey well trained, and because working with dogs is tough. They can get lazy, they can have bad days just like anybody. If you don't train them constantly, they can get out of training and they can start slipping up. So yeah, we do everything we can to be the best option for finding mold for
And do
people.
you guys do the remediation and the finding of the mold too?
We do, yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of controversy about it, but we came to the conclusion that we're, I mean, because we started with remediation, um,
Mm-hmm.
and when we started getting, learning how to do that well,
Mm-hmm.
and so, we're pretty good at that. But then we saw the conventional testing methods, how they weren't working, and people would be spending thousands of dollars on air testing, and so
Mm-hmm.
we stepped into that. Um, we, a lot of people say there's conflict of interest with that. Um, we don't really focus on lab testing for our inspections.
Mm-hmm.
We focus on finding it, getting a visual, like there's mold right here, we can see it.
Yeah.
Um, so, and there's obviously no way we could have made it grow. We can't put mold in places. So, we still do both.
Yeah.
We just try to do everything we can to help people, help people with their mold. I mean, we can help find it, remediate it, help people. We can, give resources for doctors, naturopaths to help people heal. Whatever we do or whatever we can do, we try to. So it's
Yeah.
especially here in Arizona, like I said before, there's, I don't know, thousands of restoration companies, and most of them are really good at water damage. A lot of them are really good at fire issues, smoke damage, but most of them are really, really bad at mold remediation. They do a terrible job. I've been in so many homes that have been completely contaminated because a restoration company comes in. They don't do any containment. They just start ripping stuff out, walking it through the house, and they get mold everywhere,
Yeah.
and it makes people really sick. So we try to do everything we can to prevent that, by doing a good job ourselves and setting a higher standard for the remediation process. Um, yeah, it's sad. I mean, I was just at a home of a lady last week. Um, she knew she had mold in an area. She had me come in, look at it, and just confirm that there was mold there. And she had a restoration company come in. They did a really bad containment. They did a containment, but it was bad. Um, and they had, so like, one thing that is important with remediation, you have the plastic walls, the containment, but then you also have to have negative pressure, so that
Mm.
you get air from the clean side of the home sucking into the containment instead of the contaminated air blowing back out into the rest of the house. And they
Yeah.
had it where the contaminated air was just blowing back out into the house. And so she actually walked into her home because she was staying somewhere else because it was making her sick. And within 5 minutes of being in her home, on the opposite side of the home, she started getting neurological symptoms where she was
Ugh.
getting tremors and uncontrollable
Yep.
shakes.
Yep.
Um, and her speech was starting to go, like she couldn't talk normally. Just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was after 5 or 10 minutes of being in her home on the other side of the
Yeah.
home. And that only started after the remediation. So, but we say that, we see that all the time. And so, I mean, we try to do the best we can at whatever we can to help people, with mold. We're very passionate about it. I really like help. I feel like, um, everything that has gotten me to this point has been, God leading us here, teaching me everything that I needed to learn about, the inspection process, being in the restoration industry, but never being in the the conventional side of it, where you have a restoration company, they have tons of work, they get lots of work from, insurance companies. They come in, they'll do great at water damage stuff. They'll build their businesses, they'll get really big, tons of work, tons of money. I never got into that side of it. It was always just me, which it still is. I mean, it's just me, and then I have some guys who help me with the remediation. Um, but I just felt like I a lot of times I would try to grow the business and get into that side of the restoration, but I always felt like it just wasn't the right thing for us to do. I felt like God was telling us that that just wasn't our path. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually we got to where we are now. And I feel like there's really nobody I mean, very, very few people catering to the people who we're trying to help. And so I feel like
Oh,
it's been all inspiration and all God driven to get us here. It's been pretty amazing. So, we try to take that stewardship and do everything that we can to help as many people as we can in the best ways possible. We do really, really good job with our remediation. We over engineer the containment system and the airflow and the protections to the rest of the house. We over clean. We do everything we can, and I'm constantly learning about how to do it better, learning about mold. Um, so whatever
how
we
do
can
you
do.
protect yourself from the mold? Are you not
Um,
sensitive?
I mean, I think anybody can get to the point where they're sensitive. I'm not overly sensitive. I think my body's pretty good at detoxing, or else I probably would have seen a lot more health effects than I do
Mm-hmm.
now. I still get
Mm-hmm.
like some brain fog and memory issues occasionally if I'm around a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it without very good protection. And then sometimes my thyroid will get a little bit swollen, and so
Yeah.
yeah. Other than that, there's nothing really deep with health symptoms or anything. But when we do remediation, we have a full suit, head to toe.
Mm-hmm.
We wear several pairs of gloves. We're all taped up everywhere,
That's
full
good.
face respirator. Um, so when I do inspections, unless the home is really bad, I usually don't do that. Probably
Mm-hmm.
should, but I
Yeah.
focus on eating healthy, exercising, detox, allowing my body to detox. So
What about honey? How do you guys keep her healthy?
The biggest thing, a lot of people think that it's like, I don't know, cruel or something because she's always smelling mold or whatever, which she's not. She very rarely is around mold. And I always tell people she's around or inhales less mold than a dog living in a moldy home. We only
Yeah.
spend a very small amount of time in a home comparatively. A dog will be there for years, and Honey
Mm-hmm.
will come in for a few minutes or a couple hours or whatever. But then I'll do my inspection. If I find mold, I don't make her smell it or anything.
Yeah.
So she really doesn't get that much mold. But other than that, we keep her healthy just by healthy diet, good exercise, giving her probiotics, stuff like that. So allowing her body
Nice.
to detox as much as possible as well. So
And that's another thing that, people might not be considering is that if you are living in a moldy house and you have pets,
yeah,
they are being exposed to that too, and it can actually cause health issues. Like you said, like a dog that's living in a moldy home is getting more exposure than Honey is,
yeah.
and that can cause a lot of issues with people's pets.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of pets get sick from it. A lot of times people, they don't know what's going on, why their pet's so sick, and then we find mold, and it's like, oh yeah, that's probably it. It's been in a moldy home for years and years. And a lot of times
Yeah.
they get it out or they remediate, and then the dog starts feeling better. So
Do you guys think you'll ever add another mold dog to the fleet?
probably, I mean, there's a big need for what we do. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's hard because the biggest thing for me is the quality.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I don't know, I don't want to just give anybody a dog and train them how to do it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
then just because of my background in, the building aspect of of restoration, like I know what drywall is supposed to look like. I know what it's not supposed to look like. I've done tons of drywall, tons of baseboard work.
Yeah.
I just kind of I have a good eye for what things should look like and where there may be small issues, and that's harder to train, although obviously not impossible. So because we don't the inspections we don't focus on Honey, um, which is this is a thing that a lot of people don't know about us. I mean, when people call us and hire us, they're not hiring Honey, the mold dog. They're hiring me as the inspector. And one of the tools that I use is Honey, and
Yeah.
she's a very good tool. So,
Yeah.
and we, use her as much as we can. But a lot of companies focus on the dog only, and it leaves a lot of room for areas that the dog can't inspect. And
Yeah.
so teaching all the other aspects of inspections is tough. Not that it's impossible or that we won't do it, but um, for right now, we're just growing where we're at. So I'm sure eventually we will soon, hopefully. It's just finding the right person who can inspect and who can learn.
Right. Yeah, definitely got to be a good fit.
Yeah.
Um, can you tell us about how it is working with Honey? Is she's your dog and she's your coworker. How do you enjoy that?
Um, it's good. I mean, she just hangs out with me all day. sh Working with a dog, as you can imagine, is not always easy. It's like working with a human, but you
Right.
can't talk to them. You can't really communicate very well because there's, a little bit of a language barrier between dogs and humans.
Yeah.
But it's good. She's a really good dog. She's really calm. She doesn't get too crazy or anything like that. She doesn't get sick in the truck, which is good. I know some
Yeah.
dogs do. But yeah, I spend most of my days with her. A lot of times she's just hanging out as we're driving or whatever, but it's good. She's a really good companion. She's very calm. She's very sweet. She doesn't. I don't have to worry about her biting somebody or anything like that. But yeah, she's a good little dog. Very personable. She just wants to sit and hang out, just be around people. So it's
Where's
good.
she at now?
She's in the other room here. I'm
Okay.
surprised she hasn't started. One of the issues that I do have with her is if I walk out of our home or if we're in an inspection and I go in the other room, she'll start howling for me until I come
Oh,
back.
yeah.
So it's like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it gets to be loud, but I'm surprised she hasn't started howling yet. But I
She's
think
a hound dog, right? The
she is.
beagle
Yeah,
is it a hound?
yeah,
Yep.
yep. So she's got that hound dog howl. It's pretty crazy.
I
But
used to have a dachshund, and they
oh
have a
really?
pretty good little howl as well. Do
Yeah.
you think you could train a dachshund to be a mold dog?
I'm sure you could. I don't know. I don't know enough about dachshunds, but I would say that my just the ones that I've met, I'd be like, that'd be kind of tough. But
I mean, they're very short and they're very
yeah,
stubborn, but they're my favorite dog.
are they?
So, yeah,
Oh, sorry, let me see if I can turn this off.
no worries. Um, if someone is suspecting mold in their home, what would you suggest that they avoid doing?
That's tough. The best thing you can do is not freak out. One of the biggest things that we deal with is overreactions. There's a lot of that in the industry, especially because there's still a lot of unknown in the mold industry. It's kind of a growing industry.
Yeah,
Um, a lot of people think they just have to go, throw everything away in their whole home. Sometimes that is the case, and we've been in homes where we're like, it would be probably too expensive to keep most of the stuff and to clean it properly.
yeah,
Um, but most of the time, that's not the case. So the biggest thing is don't overreact. Obviously, you want to have a healthy reaction to it, healthy response. Um, a lot of times, people will try to treat mold. The problem is mold is toxic when it's dead as well as alive.
mm-hmm,
There's two problems here. Number one, most treatments are not completely effective against mold. So even disinfectants. In fact, in our remediation, we stopped using disinfectants. We only do soap and water and microfiber towels and HEPA vacuums. We focus on removing the mold instead of treating the mold or covering it up
yeah,
or killing it or whatever. So a lot of times people will think that if they treat it with, a lot of times people do bleach, which you shouldn't do for sure.
definitely
Um,
don't do bleach.
yeah, no bleach and no disinfectants. Um, like you're never trying to kill it. You're never trying to neutralize it or whatever. Um, you're trying to completely remove it from the home. Just like I was saying with mold, when you try to kill it, you may kill some of it, but what isn't killed recognizes that it's being attacked and it starts producing more toxins. Because mold, I mean, you have different species of mold, and they're always competing for food and space and everything, just like anything. And then they're competing with other bacteria as well. So that's why they have the toxins, and that's a lot of times what's making people sick. Um,
Is that a
so
mycotoxin?
yeah, the mycotoxins, exactly. Those you can't kill. That's a non-living thing. Like you can't spray something on it and kill it. Um, so what mold will do if it recognizes or senses that it's being attacked, it will just start producing more toxins to try to combat whatever it is that's attacking it.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times you'll have less mold because some of it may be killed by whatever it is you're treating it with, but then it'll start producing more toxins. Um, so definitely don't treat it. It's you try to remove it completely, um, and that's our whole focus.
Yeah, I
So
approve of that message
yeah, but which is
fully.
very, very, very not well known in the industry. Most companies
Yeah,
focus on disinfecting, and because disinfecting sounds great. I mean, you're going to disinfect, you're going to clean the home, it's going to be, sterile, whatever. But it just doesn't work. I mean,
no, you have to
reality,
remove the
yeah,
actual physical mold, like
yeah,
the little spores, because even if they're dead spores, they can still cause an immune
yeah,
reaction in someone sensitive.
yeah, exactly. So,
And it's not good to be breathing it in, even if you're not sensitive. But
yeah, it causes all sorts. Even if your body's good at detoxing, it's like you still don't want to be breathing that in.
no,
There's a lot of toxicity to it. And the other thing too, and this is kind of a tangent here, but one of the other treatments that a lot of people do is with ozone.
yeah,
Ozone is really, really good at, odor. They use ozone with fire damage or, smoke odor or whatever, all sorts of odors. It's very, very good at that. But with mold, what happens is, first of all, if it kills the mold, it's still toxic. Second of all, what
yeah,
it can do is it can actually break the mold apart. So instead of having one spore or one cell fragment or whatever, you've just broken that up into 100 cell fragments, and all of those little cell fragments are toxic. So you're actually making the problem worse. Um, yeah. So there's mold is a tough industry, because um, there's a lot of things that people just don't understand about it, especially with the restoration companies, how they use so like with disinfectants, that's a great tool for what we call category 3 water, which is like heavy bacteria water, which like from sewage.
yeah,
Disinfecting can be great. Um, but when it comes to mold, it just doesn't work the crossover there. And same with the ozone thing, like in odor situations or fire smoke damage,
yeah.
it works great, but it just doesn't work well in mold. So
Yeah,
making
you really need to
sure,
go with someone who knows what they're doing with mold
yeah,
because it can go so wrong and you
yeah,
can just spend so much money without much, alleviation from the problems that you're experiencing due to the mold.
yeah,
It's really complex, and if you don't know someone who is actually considering mold is such a biotoxin and biohazard for people. Like if they don't have that at the forefront of their mind and they're in the remediation business, like that's a major red flag for me. I'm
yeah.
like, you have to be thinking about these things when you're taking care of mold.
The problem is with all the restoration companies, not to like totally trash on restoration companies. There's a lot of good ones out there,
Yeah,
um, but the problem is, and why this hasn't really changed in the industry is because most of the time what they do is probably gonna be fine. Most people aren't insanely sensitive. Um, So a restoration company may come in and do kind of a crappy job, and the people may not recognize, if they do get sick, the
yeah,
homeowners or whoever's living there, they may not recognize that it was from mold. Um, but then other times it's like, there's not so much contamination that your body just gets so overloaded because, a lot of people are good at detoxing, a lot of people are good at, combating the mold. So there hasn't been enough issues with restoration companies doing this kind of, crappy work, because a lot of times it's okay. A lot of times it does work and it's fine. It's not great. I would never want it in my home, this type of work. But when you get a bad restoration company, bad remediation job, and they pair it with somebody who's sensitive, then that's where it really starts to go wrong. That's where
yeah.
the techniques and the methods and the tools that are used in the industry really show that it's not the correct way to do remediation. So there just hasn't, and then the other problem too, this is like another tangent here, but a lot of times when stuff like this does happen, where a restoration or remediation company comes in and they do a bad job, they will just throw money at the solution and until the homeowner is quiet. They'll just pay them a bunch of money and be like, "We'll fix it. We'll pay you a bunch of money for whatever the damages." And so the problem will be stopped there. It won't ever be talked about, and the industry doesn't change because of that, because they have so much money
Yeah.
to throw around at the problems that they cause. So, and then they don't change.
Yeah.
They don't train their techs. The the people who run the company or run the jobs, they don't learn about remediation anymore because it's like, why would they? They can just make a ton of money doing what they're doing, and if a problem arises, we'll just throw some money at it. It'll be all good.
Are you
So,
talking about ones that have been bought out by private equity, or
what's that?
are you talking about the companies that have been like bought out by private equity,
Not
or
even that. Even the locally owned businesses, they make
oh
a ton of
wow.
money. They have a lot. I mean, the big ones too, but even the smaller ones who are just local, they make a lot of money. And so when stuff like this comes up where they cause contamination in a home, they just throw the money at it until it's clean, until it's fixed,
Wow.
and then nothing changes in the industry.
That's
So,
crazy.
yeah. So
Wow. Well, I think that the change is on the horizon because more people are becoming aware of this, and it's like 80% or something like that. I've heard that stat. I don't know if it's totally true of the houses in North America have water damage.
I believe it.
Um, so, it's something that everyone needs to be aware of, especially with our, state of health and our mitochondrial health. This point in history is not great, and
There's a lot
mold
of
also damages your mitochondrial health.
yeah.
Just if everyone didn't know that.
You pair that with all the environmental um, onslaught from all the chemicals that we're surrounded with. It's like your body gets overloaded pretty quick.
Yeah,
More,
you gotta take the wins where you can. So,
yeah,
if you
sure,
can control the inside of your house,
yeah,
that's a blessing too, to even be able to um handle these situations and be able to take care of it, because there's a lot of people out there who do not have the means to take care of this type of situation, and then that's when they end up living in tents or become homeless, and it's really really sad what mold can do to families.
yeah. And one of the aspects too that we haven't really talked about is a lot of times what happens is the wife or the kids will be sick and the husband totally fine. And
Yep.
when you have a husband who is not supportive and it doesn't believe that his wife or kids are sick at all, and then on top of it sick from mold, um, I've talked to people who have gotten divorced, and their families
Wow.
torn apart because there's just not the support because, mold, it's, I mean, it's so well hidden. It can be a silent toxin where you just don't know that it's there. And then
Yep.
someone starts suspecting mold, and then you find it, and then it's like, oh, it can't be mold making you sick. It's in the wall, or it's hidden. You can't see it. It's in the cabinet
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And it's like, yeah, it can't get out here. I mean, there's drywall covering it. And it's just like, unfortunately, that's not how it works. There's so much air exchange within, even enclosed walls
Yeah.
through your light switches, through your plugs, your outlets, your ceiling fan, whatever it is. Um, there's a lot of air exchange. And then over a period of, long period of time, it's enough to make someone sick, even if it seems like it's hidden. So
Totally.
that's a difficult aspect of what we do is the family dynamic and the family issues that it can cause.
Yeah, big on education. I'm sure you guys are educating a lot of people, because you don't know, it's not even on your radar unless you've been sick. Like, people
Yeah.
glaze over when you start talking about it if they've never experienced it. And so, yeah, educating the rest of the family, and unfortunately having to come with proof and receipts to show statistics, and I mean, I compiled a complete binder to show my presentation to people. I felt like I was like screaming into the void.
Yeah.
Um, and it's sad. I wish it was. I think it is becoming more well known and more
It is.
accepted. So I am really happy about that. Tell us about the area that your service area. So where all you'll travel in Arizona,
Hmm.
and how people can get a hold of you, and where they can follow you on social media.
We, I know I said before that we really, I mean, not we're not against going outside the state, but we're really focusing on Arizona. So, and
Yeah.
we'll go anywhere in Arizona. I've been down to Yuma, been up to
Oh wow.
Flagstaff and Lake Havasu City, been to the White Mountains. So we'll go anywhere. Um,
Nice.
and then as far as contacting us, I mean, people should know we're a very small business. It's really just me. My wife, she helps a lot, but she focuses on raising our kids. Um, so I mean, people can find us on our website. It's not a great website. I'm working on, working with people to help us get it to look
If
a
you
little
need
better.
someone for a website,
Oh, you do? Do you do websites? I didn't
yeah.
know that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we need help on on all that stuff. But our website is arizonamoldog.com. And then our Instagram is hawshomesaz. Not .com, hawshomesaz for Instagram. And then you can usually find our information on there and contact me. Most of what I do is just getting our website is really just so people can call me. Um, just because I'm not super well organized with a lot of stuff. So when people call me, and I'll reach out to them that way usually, and I'll have people walk me through the situation, where their house is located, size of the home, and then I'll quote based off that. But yeah, and if it doesn't work out, we're always happy to help people as much as we can, even if we don't do inspections for them. I mean, our focus is helping people, especially who are going through all these mold issues, and it can be tough, and I've seen the worst of it. So um, our main focus and our main joy is helping people through it. So even like I said, even if it doesn't work out, we inspect. We're not cheap on the inspection side. We're good at it, so we charge accordingly. So
Yeah.
we value our time. But it doesn't always work out where people have us inspect, but we'll still point them in the right direction and answer questions and help them learn as much as we can.
And
So
you could be saving money in the long run because if you pay a little bit more for the test and you get it right on the first time
yeah,
instead of having to continuously hire different companies to come in
yeah,
and there's conflicting information. It's very stressful.
yeah. Yeah, mold is, I mean, not only is it a very dynamic thing, but yeah, it can be hard to find, like we talked about. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, a lot of times you'll get one company says one thing, another company says another thing, and it's just like we try our best to avoid that and just find everything we can.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Well, Trent, is there any way that we can meet Honey on
Oh yeah, let me go
the
grab it real quick.
podcast? Okay. Wow, there she
That's
is.
Honey.
Hi, Honey.
She's a little camera shy, I guess.
She's so cute. Oh
Yeah,
my
she's
gosh.
she's a good dog.
Yeah, she is little.
She's got a
Aw.
good nose. We growing up, I always had Australian shepherds, and they're so playful. So when I first got Honey, I just like did not understand. She didn't really want to play. She just wants to smell all the time, which for having a pet, it's like, she's not super playful, but she just
Yeah.
always wants to smell, which is awesome for a working dog. So,
Yeah.
um, oop,
Is she snuggly?
yeah, she is for sure. She'll just sit on your lap and just let you pet her for forever.
Aw.
So,
She's got a pretty color coat
yeah,
too.
she's a lemon beagle, so she doesn't have any of the dark. Most of the
Yeah.
time, they'll have like the darker brown. She's just all that
Hmm.
light color. So,
She's like a little strawberry blonde gal. She's so cute. Oh my gosh. Honey, thank you for Thank you for the service to this world that you're doing. Yeah, she seems like a good girl.
Yeah, she's a good dog
Well,
for sure.
it's been awesome having you on, Trent. Glad we
Thank you.
finally made it work, and yeah, keep on doing God's work with Honey, and I'm excited to see where you guys grow and all the people that you can help. Again, hit him up on Instagram, hit him up on the website, and yeah, I'm sure we'll have you on again in the future.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.